Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it, a road show Friday with Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. Man, it feels good to be back home. I see some of the listeners here already. We love seeing you. Want to see you down here at the Single Barrel. We're here 4 to 6 every home football Friday. Back here for Purdue. The Purdue bus is to our right. Now, the good news is we have not seen Purdue Pete. The mascot that does look Halloween ghoulish, quite honestly, that's a plus. Brahm and company have made their way in. You got folks here at the, ready to, I can do my best Jim Nance here with golf. The simulator suites, the Top Golf simulator suites are a must. This place is great, single barrel, thick steaks, whiskey. It's incredible, and we want to see you down here for a roadshow Friday with Hail Varsity. Elijah, it's, a lot of opportunity today for Nebraska football as the Boilermakers in town. And you know what? Got to get those winning ways back. We are loaded up. Jacob Padilla going to be with us from Hail Varsity here in 20 minutes. Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman will check in. Greg Smith, a recruiting hit. He's going to be on hand for a monster showdown up in the Metro. Gretna is hosting Lincoln East. The Fighting Spartans Southeast kicks off in about 30 minutes or so against Burke. And then the Friday forecast with Clausburn. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com and find us on Twitter. Give Elijah a follow at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbal and at Schmidt_radio. Chris Schmidt. We'll figure out what happens. A little bit of Halloween fun today. You'll get to rehear the true ghost story from Coach Mike Leach, the Pirate. Yes, we know about his hatred for candy corn. Well, Wednesday when he was with us, he talked about his mother-in-law. Not in a bad way, promise you, but just the fact that the furniture was legit haunted. So come on down here. We're at the Single Barrel. Elijah, are you loading up any Halloween parties for Saturday night, Sunday? Do you know what you're going to get into?
So it's like a tentative plan we've got going right now with me and my roommates.
Toga?
No. So what we want to do is we were thinking about getting a keg, but I think with the home football weekend, that's just going to be too much of a pain, and we can just go get some bush or something. But we're going to move our fire pit from our backyard around to the front yard, and we're going to take a TV outside, and we're going to set up my Sunday ticket on the TV and just watch NFL around a fire pit with some beers all day Sunday, and I'll be making some chili and cinnamon rolls. So just going to be hanging out in the front yard.
That's going to be huge. Now it's going to be 48 degrees.
That's why you have the
windy
fire pit.
with a little bit of sun, but layer up, my friend. So we'll dive in here, and listen. It's no better time than now to get down to the Single Barrel, get yourself a hearty bone in steak. Ken here, loyal listener, he already crushed a New York strip. That was a half hour before the show started. He dialed up and nailed it. Our old buddy Roger is here. He's working on some Johnny Walker already. I got to tell you about Roger, a listener that's been with us for a lot of years, listening to the show. He has an incredible Purdue connection, Elijah. His grandfather, Albert Berg, the first ever Purdue football coach in 1888. And his grandfather went to Gallaudet College in Washington, D.C., where he learned football from the Hearing Boys. Albert Berg, Purdue's first football coach ever, hearing impaired, didn't matter. The guy pretty much invented the huddle. He was hired at Purdue, coached one season, which was one game against Butler, and that was pretty much the first time for a huddle because you had a circle around Coach Berg He could not speak and he could not hear, but he was able to communicate with hand signals, sign language, and this is an incredible story. And our listener Roger's family from the Council Bluffs region, also in Lincoln, is where Roger kind of put his roots down, and his brother, along with his father, both worked at the Iowa School for the Deaf in Council Bluffs for a number of years, and his older brother Lloyd competed against Bob Gibson at Omaha Tech. So this is a really cool family from Lincoln and also Council Bluffs. He's wearing Nebraska red. He loves his big red, but he has Purdue ties in the form of his grandfather, and he got 10 great years with his grandfather before his grandfather passed. Just being able to communicate with him about his time coaching Purdue, and what an awesome story. Think about that. 1888, the Purdue's first coach ever was Albert Berg, hearing impaired man that was just incredible, and introduced Purdue to the huddle. Yeah, I don't know how much huddling you'll see tomorrow. And
this is according to Albert Berg's Wikipedia page, which I went and found, that according to his players, his coaching consisted of excited sign language and some rather bizarre sounds from his throat, which his players correctly translated as pure profanity.
Right. And that's, you have Roger that has popped in here down at the Single Barrel to say hey and tell us his family story. You got to get after the kids one way or another, correct, to get them to do it.
You got to hit that mad button.
Frost, you got to hit the mad button. Scott Frost talked about the mad button this week. You know what? Between Coach Frost, between Trev Alberts, and between Austin Allen, and we'll talk to Jacob Padilla about Austin Allen, Nebraska's standout tight end, and Austin and Jacob go back a lot of years through basketball. Listen, I think Nebraska's locked in. I think they're focused. I think they're ready. We talked about juice, right? The dreaded 7 to 10 days of juice post Minnesota talking point. That just brutal week of, Nebraska dropped one against Minnesota. Energy balloon popped. Okay, well, you got to get tomorrow if you're Nebraska clearly for bowl hopes. That's not been talked about a lot. I think Nebraska is a good enough football team, obviously, to make a bowl game. I think they could beat a lot of teams on any given Saturday. They're the same football team, Elijah, that can get sniped by their own doing or contribute to their own downfall on any given Saturday as well. And I think you've seen Nebraska play up to a lot of their top 10, top 5, top 7 opponents. And you've also seen Nebraska not play as focused or connected as a favorite against Illinois and against Minnesota. So, who's the real Nebraska? That's been an ongoing question, and we'll see if there's more of a stabilized answer for Nebraska tomorrow against Purdue. Listen, Purdue can do a lot of things. They can get after the quarterback. Purdue can make life miserable. Their secondary is pretty good. They're not afraid of making you kick field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. That'll be your difference tomorrow. We've hammered that all week. The red zone difference, because Purdue's not good in the red zone because they don't run the football, right? Nebraska's run game's gotten better with Ramir Johnson. So there's so many storylines here, but it's really cool to start off with, Roger Berg's grandfather, the first Purdue coach, Albert Berg, hearing impaired man that introduced Purdue football to the huddle back in 1888 and had a season with Purdue. So, there's a thought tomorrow too with energy and crowd. I think Nebraska fans will be ready. You'll get a national audience with ESPN2, Kelly Stauffer and Lauren Sisler, two great folks we had a chance to spend time with in Minneapolis as part of our pregame coverage. They're on the call this weekend. So a lot of excitement here, but I think Nebraska will bring their own excitement tomorrow, and we'll have our predictions later. But it's going to really come down to a lot of different factors and facets, specifically Adrian being Adrian, and also Elijah. Adrian taking care of the football, not just off the edge, but also You can't give the football away. That'll be a big difference tomorrow.
Yeah, and as we've seen from this Husker football team so far this season, whenever Adrian has a good game, the team typically has a good game. And that's, those two things go hand in hand. Whenever the team around Adrian is playing well, it makes his job easier. And whenever Adrian's getting the ball out to his playmakers, the offense looks better. So it comes down to me. If Adrian has a good game, look at the games where he has played poorly. That's primarily Illinois and Minnesota, the two worst showings for Nebraska this season when Adrian's been playing poorly. But to get him playing well, you need a couple things. You need to have consistent threats in the passing game, whether that be Austin Allen up the seam, whether that's Xavier Betts winning his one-on-one matchups, maybe it's Omar Manning. That's key. And then the second key is also keeping Adrian Martinez clean. The offensive line has to do a good job protecting Adrian. If he has pressure in his face every single play, if he has to make plays with his legs because the pocket's breaking down, it typically doesn't mean the best things for the Husker offense. He can make the best of it. However, the offense works better whenever he is protected and he's staying off his back. It gives him time in that pocket to go find a receiver downfield. That's going to be the biggest key is can Adrian Martinez get a clean pocket and can he go find his receivers?
Well, and it's almost like Adrian expected, and I don't blame him, to be able to be clean out of the gate against Illinois, right? And you saw him with happy feet and off his back foot and just an accuracy issue, never really got settled. And then you saw it also against Minnesota. He was able to stand in better, not great, but better because you knew what you were going against in an Oklahoma. You knew Michigan State was going to pin their ears back. You know what was up with Michigan. Now, him being able to run the football tomorrow, being a part of that rushing attack, Nebraska is going to need to find a counter or just execute better when it comes to either the design runs, the improv, and his element in the run game, quite honestly, because that is how Nebraska's kept it close against some of these heavyweights. That's how Nebraska wins tomorrow, is being able to throw up about 100.5 or so on this Purdue defense. So you're not yourself one-dimensional. Everyone talks about Purdue being one-dimensional, and they're not even averaging 80 yards a contest on the ground. They don't care. They're going to throw it. What can happen is Nebraska can't go to sleep on the Purdue minimal rushing attack and get gashed with Purdue in the run game. David Bell's fascinating. I know he's worn out in Nebraska. He's an incredible wide receiver talent, and there's no Rondale Moore. He was doing things for Arizona last night, including muffing punts, but he's still so dynamic to watch. Listen, David Bell's going to do his thing. It's about damage control tomorrow, don't you think, with Bell? And Coach Frost touched on that. He'll get some touches. He'll get some yards. Does he take over for 240 yards like he did against Iowa? Nebraska has Purdue's attention and vice versa, and it'll be key for Nebraska. And really, this city, this state, man, you need tomorrow to go the right way. You need tomorrow to go the right way so you have some juice, some energy with Ohio State knocking on the door, whatever happens with that thing. But at least give yourself a shot for Black Friday to mean something more than ruining Iowa. Give yourself a shot to do something you haven't done, and that's win on the road in the Big Ten. The last Big Ten road win was the Stanley Morgan Heroics 25-24 under Riley back in 2017 at the buzzer at the goal line. Go get a road win in Wisconsin. Easier said than done. But before you get to all of that, it's got to happen tomorrow. I think this thing will be tight for a while. I think it could be lower scoring. But I think ultimately Nebraska's difference maker and the fact they know who their quarterback is versus Purdue throwing things against the wall, hoping there's a run game with two of their three quarterbacks. And then is O'Connell still giving the football away, or is he able to settle in? And at times he's looked pretty good throwing the football. He can't get comfortable tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's so key for Nebraska here. After the whole state of Nebraska pretty much has had just a bad taste sitting in their mouth for the past 2 weeks. Since that Minnesota game, it's just been the whole narrative, the whole feel around this Husker football team has kind of shifted. Where before it was, we're hopeful, this team is close, this team just needs a couple things to go right for them in a game against a big opponent, and they'll get a win, and it'll change the whole narrative. It'll be turning the corner for this Husker football team, and the Minnesota game seems to have brought the progress back, at least in the minds of Husker football fans, back to the point of it's the same old story, it's a new season, same movie that we're watching here with this team. So it's all about shifting the momentum and getting getting the momentum right as you're going into the final stretch of your season, trying to go make a bowl game. And it starts tomorrow with Purdue, of changing that narrative back to, yes, this is a close football team, and this is a football team that is going to take down the opponents that we're supposed to beat. And Purdue is a team that you, being Nebraska, should be beating in a year-in, year-out basis.
Right on. And it's not that they can't keep it close or tight. That is Purdue. But you're, air quote, better. It's a winnable game, Elijah. Do we have time to hear some Halloween? Be careful saying
it's a winnable game.
I know, especially in this company here with Seabass and crew all over here with the Boilermaker faithful here at the Graduate. We're at the Single Barrel. So you had some Halloween stories going on, and it's pretty funny to hear some of the coaches talk about their Halloween experiences around the Big Ten. Can we hear from Frosty?
Yeah, we got time for Frosty.
Yeah, Frosty was... God love him. He was a big Ryan Sandberg fan. He went as a baseball cord. One year I went as Ryan Sandberg because I had a Cubs jersey that actually got me into servitude for my brother. My first boss ever was Uncle Mark on the paper route. He was 4 years younger, but he was still dragging me up at 4 a.m. to wrap papers so I could pay the Ryan Sandberg jersey off. Here's Frost.
I was a big Cubs fan growing up, and Ryan Sandberg was my favorite, and I wanted to be a baseball card once. It was pretty easy. I just took 2 pieces of cardboard and plastered his picture on one side and the stats on the other, and went and got some candy.
Well, go get that candy. Go get the win. Come on down here for a whiskey, a beer, a Boilermaker, a steak. We're here at the Single Barrel, 4 to 6 Roadshow Friday. We'll check in with Jacob Padilla, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. Tail Varsity Roadshow Friday. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back into it at Tail Varsity Radio Roadshow Friday. We're here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. Steaks and whiskey, always all good. And what a good weekend of ball it's going to be. High school football tonight. Of course, Husker basketball against the Buffs, exhibition style. Husker volleyball, the man on all of the scenes is Jacob Padilla from HailVarsity.com and magazine at Jacob Padilla _ with us. Jacob, man, how'd you juggle Wednesday? First and foremost, great coverage, bud. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, well, I went down to CBA for the first half of the exhibition game and then trudged through the rain to get back and head over to Devaney Center to take in the volleyball match. So had some wet socks all night, but was able to double dip and get to see a little bit of both.
Well, tell me, let's start with hoops. And what were you pleased with Nebraska basketball? And I know it was a little tighter in the first half than the second half. And overall takeaway, just from your eye, from your basketball eye, you know, what's some upside, what's some positive, I guess, knee-jerk reactions with what you see from Coach Hoiberg's team and all that loaded talent?
Yeah, the guy that stole the show was Alonzo Verge Jr., and I would say competition level notwithstanding, the chemistry he had with Derek Walker and Wilhelm Breidenbach too, the vision he displayed, and kind of the balance he struck between looking for his shot and getting other guys involved. Like, if he plays that way, it's not going to be 20 points and 8 assists every game. But if he plays the way he did in that game consistently, they'll have a chance to be pretty good. Because he's a guy that decision-making hasn't always been the best. He played on a team with a lot of kind of shoot-first guys, and the ball movement wasn't great, and decision-making wasn't really there, and it led to overall low efficiency. But he only took 1 or 2 questionable shots, I thought, all night. He was getting guys involved. He only had 2 turnovers, and one of those was a charge, so wasn't necessarily a bad pass or anything. So I think that was the biggest takeaway from that game, just the way that he looked and kind of the chemistry he's already showing with the guys, considering he just arrived here in July. That was a big takeaway. And then the other thing that I found interesting was just kind of the rotation. They went with 9 guys in the first half, and then worked a lot of the deeper bench guys in the second half. But Kobe Webster wasn't part of that, and Eduardo Andre wasn't part of that. So those are 2 guys that played quite a bit for him last year that, at least in that exhibition game, it's entirely possible, especially with Webster, And Fred Hoiberg knows what he's going to get with him. He's been in that program for over a year, whereas C.J. Wilcher and Casey Tominaga have only been here for a couple of months. So don't want to say that Webster is completely buried yet. It's entirely possible he's kind of experimenting and giving the new guys a chance to see, and I'm sure Webster will play a role at some point this season. But it was just interesting to see kind of how that shook out and what he wanted to do in the first half with his rotation, especially with Breidenbach kind of sliding in as that backup 5 as well, because he's got some versatility. He could potentially play the 4 or the 5 depending on matchups. And we've been hearing a lot of good things, and it looks like he came in and has really impressed the coaching staff already to kind of jump right into that rotation.
Jacob Padilla is with us, HailVarsity.com and magazine, or hitting on some Husker hoops. And Jacob, let's talk about Bryce McGowan's 5-star uber talent. Had a tough night shooting. I don't think Hoiberg was upset or frustrated. The shots just didn't fall. But as you kind of got a quick glimpse of Bryce and what the hype is around him, what did you see from him? You've covered a lot of high-level kids in your time with the AAU circuit and all the coaching you do. Do you think the transition will be pretty smooth for him?
There'll probably be some bumps along the road, and Hoiberg even talked about that, how as talented as he is, there's going to be some patience required to kind of get him to where they feel he's going to be, whether it's mid-season, end of the season, or the player that he's going to eventually be. And he showed he had a few really nice plays. It's pretty cool. His first bucket as a Husker came on an alley-oop from his brother. He had a couple of really nice flat passes where he made plays for other guys. He a couple of those threes. A tough kind of step back in the pick and roll that was late in the shot clock that looked pretty good. Just kind of caught the rim and circled around and popped out. So Hoiberg mentioned he thought all the shots were kind of right there. I think this exhibition season kind of worked out perfectly for them to give him a chance to go out there and get his feet wet, play on that court in front of fans against another team when it's a real game setting where there's a little bit more pressure than even in a closed exhibition or practice setting. So I think this week will be good for him to kind of figure out, all right, here's where I'm at, here's where I need to be, this is what I need to work on to be able to play the way that I want to play. And I expect he'll just get better and better as we get into the regular season and he gets more games under his belt.
Jacob Padilla is with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Jacob, a thought here on Jamarcus Lawrence, Nebraska getting a new commit, 3-star guard.
Yeah, just committed. He's a Roselle Catholic player. That's the same school that C.J. Wilcher went to, a teammate of C.J.'s younger brother, Simeon, who's a 5-star guard in the 2023 class. Those two visited Nebraska at the beginning of this month together. Wilcher's since committed to North Carolina. Kind of tough when you're going up against Blue Bloods, but there's some familiarity there already with Lawrence and the Wilcher family, and he's a guy that can really shoot the ball. He gives good effort defensively. He seems like a pretty heady player on that end, so just another kind of guy that fits into what they're trying to do with some of the guys on the team already, with like C.J. Wilcher, like Casey Tominaga, like some of these guys they got coming off the bench to put the ball in the basket from the perimeter.
Jacob Padilla is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Jacob, looking ahead to Sunday, Nebraska's got an exhibition against Colorado. Hoiberg's already said he thinks Verge is going to be in the starting lineup on Sunday, but what will you be watching for in the exhibition against an actual Power 5 team?
Yeah, it's gonna be a big kind of step up in competition, but it's also gonna be kind of a wild card because Colorado does not have a lot of contributors back from last year. They've got a lot of newcomers, including a 7'1" freshman who is doing pretty well from them. It sounds like Jabari Walker is a guy last year that was really impressive in his role as a freshman. But they're going to have some size. They're going to have some length. Which wasn't really the case with Peru State. So, one, they've got to be able to rebound the ball better than they did against Peru State. And it comes down to guys being in position, putting in a little effort to check out, to go track down the balls, to be strong with it, because they gave up way too many second chance points. to Peru State, especially considering it's an NAIA team and playing a lot of smaller lineups. So that'll be number one. And then number two is continued decision making. Will guys continue to make good decisions? 25 assists, 9 turnovers. That's a really good ratio in that game. And obviously they shot the ball really well. So it's tougher competition. It's going to be harder to beat guys off the dribble. It's going to be harder to get wide open looks. Will they continue to be patient to make the right plays? And will they be able to keep that kind of style that Hoiberg wants, where the ball's moving, guys are taking the right shots, they're sharing it. That gets a little bit tougher when you're being defended. There's a guy in your face. Guys aren't as wide open as they maybe are against a lesser defensive team. So those are going to be the keys for me, is defensive rebounding and then continued good decision-making.
Few minutes here. Jacob Padilla is with us, HailVarsity.com and magazine, as we're talking Husker hoops, the Buffs in Big Red on Sunday at PBA. Jacob, going to flip over to football. What's got your radar up here for tomorrow? Purdue just got to town a little bit ago. They're off the bus. They're in the conference room just down the hall. I'll wave at them for you if you want, as we're down here at the Single Barrel. But it just kind of comes down to what team shows up for, not only for Nebraska but Purdue. What specifics are you interested in here? What are you watching for tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, well, we know Purdue passes the ball more than almost anybody else. And so without Deontay Williams, who is one of your biggest communicators back there in the back end, the playmaker in the secondary, loves playing against aired out teams. So that's going to be a big loss for the team. So how does that secondary hold together? How do they communicate? How do they make the calls and the checks? And read what's happening back there when you've got Miles Farmer in place of Deontay Williams. So that's going to be a big key. And then on the offensive side, it's going to be Adrian Martinez's health. How does that impact the play calling? And kind of the run game. Are they able to get it going a little bit better than they did against Minnesota? Obviously, we know that Martinez is dealing with an ankle injury that limited him in that last game before the bye. He's had some time off now to hopefully heal up and get back closer to where he was previously. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what does the playbook look like, what is the play calling. Are they able to do everything that they want to do, which wasn't the case against Minnesota.
Jacob, those are two key points, and Farmer's no stranger to starting. His first career start bared a lot of fruit. Great work against Northwestern a season ago. Purdue's a different animal, but I think at least you've got a guy that won't be afraid of the moment, and a guy like Farmer. Nebraska's pass rush, the difference a year ago. It'll be interesting to see how Nebraska, flipping it around, protects against the Purdue defense. And you're right on with the running game. Have you got a temperature of this? Do you have at least a prediction with what their mindset is, or even just where they're at mentally?
And Austin Allen said they came back ready to go after the bye week. Said they almost had to tell each other to chill a little bit because they were going so hard at it right out the gates. So if that's the case, that would point to these guys at least being ready to go out there and kind of give it their all and lock in and hopefully get things back on track. You never quite know. We'll see if that's the case on game day. Do they wake up feeling the same way? We heard what happened against Minnesota afterward. We didn't really get that indication going in, I don't think. So we still got some time left here before they get to kickoff. But I think the way that loss happened and then having the bye afterward to kind of recharge and then reflect and realize kind of what we have left here. There's only four games left. We've got, this is kind of our last chance to do something that we were hoping to do this year. I think they'll come in ready to play. Whether or not they execute, that's always the question with this team, and that's really hard to predict.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Jacob Padilla is with us, HailVarsity.com and magazine. Jacob, the volleyball, before we get you out, just high level Wednesday night with Coach Cook's women, a sweep by Wisconsin. They're for real. Nebraska's really good. Wisconsin better. Do you worry about Nebraska bouncing back? Minnesota looms.
I don't really worry about them bouncing back. Obviously, it is a tough opponent coming off that loss. I think, if anything, that match would have fired them up and kind of delivered them a little bit of an ego check. Like, all right, so we were playing really well, but we're not where we need to be. So we really got to lock in here these couple of days of practice in between and get ready for a tough trip up to Minnesota, because the Big Ten, there's no easy weeks off, but this in particular, the Wisconsin-Minnesota kind of road trip partners, that type of deal. You play those two in the same week quite a lot. That's a really tough week for the rest of the Big Ten. And so Nebraska, they competed with Wisconsin, but you saw a team with 5 super seniors versus a team with multiple freshmen in the starting lineup. And that showed itself late in all 3 of those sets. Nebraska was in every single one of those games, but Wisconsin was able to finish, and Nebraska wasn't. So that's kind of the message. Like, we're not quite where we need to be yet. And they've got a month to kind of ramp back up before they get to face Wisconsin again late in the season. So the first step towards getting there is taking care of business on the road against a really, really good Minnesota team. They've got one of the best players in the country, reigning Big Ten Player of the Year, and Stephanie Samity. So it's going to be another tough challenge, but I think if you had to lose, that was probably a good point in the season where you ramped up, you're playing well, and then you kind of realize, all right, we still got some ground to make up here to be the best of the best. And now they get to start the second half of Big Ten play to ramp up towards that postseason.
Jacob, you're checking out the doubleheader ongoing, Southeast Burke, Prep GI, loaded night of football up in the Metro.
Yeah, should be fun. It's playoff time is here, and really excited to see kind of how these brackets shake out as we get further into the tournament.
Jacob Padilla, HailVarsity.com and magazine, volleyball, basketball, football, high school, you name it, he does it. Follow him on Twitter. Check out his podcast with Damon Betting, of course, on the Hurrdat Family Media. And Jacob, did I see you got a new podcast coming up?
Yeah, my friend Jacob Bigelow and I got together. We've been talking about for a while, but finally making it happen. I'm just going to be talking Nebraska basketball and any other hoops topics that kind of interest us once a week moving forward. So check that out soon on the Hail Varsity Podcast Network.
Beautiful. We'll do it. Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, where you'll find Jacob. Jacob, have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow, bud.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Good stuff from Jacob Padilla all over Husker volleyball and, of course, Nebraska basketball, 11 o'clock, Big Ten Plus, streaming that matchup here, a step up, and Peru State wasn't a slouch out of the gate, so Nebraska will learn and try and be better Sunday morning at 11. And, of course, the Big Red and Purdue tomorrow. Down here at the Single Barrel, we're inviting you out. Do you feel like a big old steak, bone in? Yes, please. They're pork chops to die for. 250 whiskeys to choose from. We told you the story of Albert Berg, the first head coach ever at Purdue football, was hearing impaired, invented the huddle. His grandson Roger, a Lincolnite and a Big Red fan and listener to the show. It was awesome to hear his family's story. Bill Doleman coming up in about 20 minutes. Greg Smith with us. We'll drop in some ghost stories from the pirate Mike Leach in about 10 minutes or so. And then the forecast with Clausburn looms. So, Elijah, I got to ask you here, and I don't think Nebraska fans are picky at this point, but from a what's best for the team question here, does it matter to you how Nebraska wins? As in, do they need to win a close ball game? The state's screaming yes. They need to win. They need to win a close ball game. But need to go down to the wire tomorrow for Nebraska to finally feel it, finally do it, finally earn it, get over that hump that has been an ongoing topic of conversation since Oklahoma, since Illinois, since year one of Scott Frost, since year two of Scott Frost. The way these things go, 7.5. I know Nebraska's favored by a touchdown plus. When that's the case, they've won this season. That being said, I think it would serve them well. Getting a win's, I don't care if it's by 3, if it's by 7, whatever the case. You and I don't root. That being said, for everyone's sanity, get back in the win column here in front of Ohio State. I think the fact if you were able to kind of hang on, last year was one of those where it got kind of tight towards the end of the ball game, and Nebraska able to hang on and get a 10-point win. If they win in close fashion, particularly if they've got to put a 2-minute drill or put a drive together or make some plays, protect Adrian to go get the win in crunch time, I think that'd do marvels for this football team, because they've been talking about it. They eventually got to go do it.
As the great Kanye West once said, beggars can't be choosers. This isn't Chipotle.
So we're quoting Kanye. If you have Kanye quotes from Elijah at 4:48 on a Friday on the bingo card, take a drink.
Well, the thing is sure, a close one would be great for the confidence of this Nebraska team and for the confidence of the fan base in this Husker football team. But the question is, can they even get a close win right now? When it comes down to it, the only thing that matters at the end of the day is wins and losses. And if Nebraska can't win a close game, however, they're still getting wins, I don't care. That's what matters, is the wins and the losses. And to me, so far this season and so far over the past 3 seasons, Nebraska has shown an inability to win close ball games. And if they do win a close ball game, it's because they're up 14 or 21 in the fourth quarter, and they let a comeback come down at the end. And
not enough time.
It ends up being a 6-point win for Nebraska. It's simply because the comeback ran out of time. And if this game comes down to a close game on Saturday, that's how I think it probably goes tomorrow, because I don't have any confidence in this Husker football team to go put together a 2-minute drill. Or to get off the field with enough time to give your offense a chance, or to give your offense a chance with 3 timeouts. So far, Nebraska has been unable to do that, and if they find themselves in that situation on Saturday, I am nervous watching this Husker football team to think that they can even go and do that. So at the end of the day, I just think Nebraska needs to get a win, and I think it's more likely they get a win by 14 points or 10 points than by 3 points, because so far they haven't been able to do that.
Listen, Nebraska's defense in the Frost tenure has been the side of the football that has stepped up and made plays at the end of games. Purdue a year ago, Ben Stille doing the old hammer throw with the Purdue quarterback. Penn State a season ago. Okay, well, I'm saying it's the offense's time. It's the offense's turn to make one of these one-score games their fairy tale ending, not a horror story, as we're on the doorstep of Halloween. We'll get into some ghost stories. The pirate will get spooky with us next. Bill Doleman's on the way. We're here at the Single Barrel. You're invited down 4 to 6 every home football Friday with Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Friday here at the Single Barrel. Getting off work. Good for you. Make a beeline down here. We're inside the Graduate here in the Haymarket, kind of staring catty corner from the Purdue buses. You got some Purdue fans here, some Husker fans chomping away. Legendary steaks. Ken, loyal listeners, been hanging out. Also, Roger popped on by and told a great story about his family and their tie to Purdue. Can find the show and give us a rating. Tell us what you think, good, bad, or ugly, with the podcast. Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes. It's where you find it and can rate it. Also, be sure to check out the on-demand section, ESPNLincoln.com, and the Twitter feed, as we'll update the interviews and some SoundCloud 2-minute drills there with Hail Varsity Radio at ESPN Lincoln on Twitter, ESPNLincoln.com, the on-demand. Does it matter to you, like, with tomorrow's result, yes, a Nebraska win is mandatory. Do you want to see them do what they've not done? That's finish on offense to win at the buzzer, to win a close game. Again, as Elijah has commented, beggars can't be choosers. We begged Coach Leach earlier this week for a ghost story, and he told us about the one time he went to his mother-in-law's. Here is the Pirate, Coach Leach.
We were at my wife's mom's house in Utah, and I'd always feel these weird presences in this bedroom we stayed in. And, I just feel this, there's something there. And I'd wake up suddenly and could, even though it was dark, could kind of see, what I felt like was just, how would I describe it? It's almost like there's a film on your eye or something. Maybe it's my imagination, but, it just felt like there was something there. And then went out and passed this in the living room one time when there were people in the living room. And I could see these kind of orbs going around. Then I'd rub my eye, and then I'd look, and and then as we started talking, I mentioned it, and then her mother, Darlene, said that, that furniture used to belong to all the furniture had belonged to some lady, some relative or something, and the bed and the drawers that were in that bedroom. And she goes, well, maybe she wants her furniture back,
You're in her seat.
I go, then I said, so I've seen these orbs, by this lamp here before. I go, why would it be by this lamp? Because this lamp's definitely not that lady's, because the lamp looked kind of modern-y, okay? Well, it turns out it was the lady's lamp. That lamp was the lady's lamp, too.
Oh, wow.
So then Darlene gets all that furniture out of the house, and I've stayed in that room several times since, never, felt any vibe in there after that. Okay, then my brother-in-law, he was up fixing the air conditioner one time and knew that everybody was gone, and hears this, hello, hello, hello. So goes down to look, can't find anything, and swears he hears it. And, and he's a guy that thinks he's an atheist, which I've never quite got that. So you're an atheist, and now we also have ghosts. I mean, it's either one or the other, isn't it? So, ghosts are fun enough that atheists will believe in them if they feel like it.
The Pirate, Mike Leach, here at the Single Barrel. Get a whiskey and a steak. Enjoy a Friday out here in the Haymarket. The Single Barrel inside the Graduate. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. Hour 2 on the way. Bill Doleman next with Hail Varsity.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to an hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. Roadshow Friday here at the Graduate, inside the Graduate. And you got to come on by the Single Barrel. You coming to town for the game? Yes, you are. Are you going to get a steak and a beer? Yes, you are. Where do you do it? Here at the Single Barrel. Listen, beer's great. Love it. Whiskey better. They have 250 different whiskeys for you. I swear they knew Bill Doleman was going to be on the radio today. The Guinness Mobile was parked out front, thinking that it's the Graduate Hotel, it's Single Barrel, it's a home football Friday. That means Doleman's going to be back in town. We'll just have to drink that Guinness for him. We welcome in the pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, Bill Doleman with us. Billy D, I thought about taking a picture and rubbing in the fact that the Guinness Mobile was outside here at the Single Barrel.
I'm wondering how I can get a job driving the Guinness Mobile. Is that like the Oscar Mayer hot dog mobile?
Well, it's different than Mark Few's vehicle. I was watching that footage. My God, that came out earlier this week from his traffic trophy with his 2 German Shepherds, wondering why Dad's driving crazy like he's down in Australia. But we got off the beaten path there. What's up, man? It's been 2 weeks tomorrow since the mother of all roadies, the average Joe roadie, to Minneapolis. I snore and I'm sorry. And mainly we saw a what the hell first half. Can't happen tomorrow. How you feeling about the Big Red against Purdue?
You know, I'm probably like every Nebraska football fan over the last 2 weeks, that every football game that I have watched since that Saturday in Minneapolis, I've just intently watched how teams handle 4th and an inch, quarterback sneaks. It's just, to me, it's just something I still, 2 weeks later, cannot get out of my head that Nebraska couldn't punch it in from 1 inch out. My fear has always been Nebraska, you know, going into seasons the last couple of years, is the mark of this team, and Zach Duvall as the strength coach, as the offensive line, and being able, can Nebraska get, you know, make it on 4th and 3. Now we can't make it on 4th and 3 inches, and that's troubling to me. And you can't get a quarterback underneath center to quarterback sneak. I mean, Tom Brady's 45 years old, and they still put him under center to quarterback sneak. Green Bay last night, I think, had it 4th and an inch or something like that against Arizona, and they had Aaron Rodgers in the shotgun, and I think they went over.
It didn't go well. It got knocked down. Yeah.
Right. It is amazing to me. And Troy Aikman has just said, you know, that offensive line's been playing pretty well, but nope, they got to roll it out and get the pass batted down to get an inch. So, I think you're going to get a Bronx cheer tomorrow that if Nebraska has a 4th and a half yard or something, and they put Adrian Martinez under center, and he's able to get that half yard with somebody larger than him pushing it. To me, that's the one thing I can't get out of my head. And if Nebraska's quarterback sneaks for a first down tomorrow, you'll get a Bronx cheer, and maybe Scott's going to be, you know, too prideful to put his quarterback under the center. I don't know. Maybe it's still going to be in the shotgun, but it's still 2 weeks later inexcusable as to what happened. The game changes if they score there.
Oh, big time. And the other thing is, you got a 230-pound running back that loved to use Northwestern as punching bags. And you fast forward a couple of weeks later, the moment got to a young freshman. Nebraska worked on during the bye week stress situations. And it's not that they don't do that, but they really drilled down and tried to simulate pressure moments, and then the fallout. And Scott talked about hitting the mad button, and he got pissed, and he should have, when guys weren't able to execute when it came down to it. We were talking about this before the end of the hour. Does Nebraska need to go put a drive together tomorrow to win at the buzzer, to get over that hump? Is that the type of the way the win needs to happen tomorrow?
I think they need another Northwestern performance. I think they need to. I think they need to dominate. And now whether they can or can't, I don't know. But they've done it, and they everybody's talking about the Michigan State game tomorrow, and both of those teams should have losses to Nebraska. You know, Nebraska played well enough in both of those to win, and Nebraska dominated Northwestern. They played well enough in the second half of the Minnesota game to have won that game, outside of a couple of really questionable calls. But I think Nebraska's got to put together more than just a, pull it out at the end type win. They need to put together the type of win that once again convinces them that they can be a dominant football team. And I've been watching pundits, and as much as it pains me, the last couple of weeks, and people still think people still can't figure out Nebraska. I've not seen that in a long, long time, where they think, God, I think they're pretty good. I just don't get it. I think everybody a pundit is kind of in that boat of like, that's a pretty good football team. I don't get it. How about you, Barney? That's a pretty good football team, but I don't get it. How about you, Jane? Same thing, over and over and over and over. And Nebraska needs to win, and they need to win convincingly tomorrow. It can't be one of these 3.5 quarter battles, and they're able to pull it out at the end.
Bill Doleman's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Bill, if Nebraska puts together a full fourth quarter performance, which we really our full four-quarter performance, which we really haven't seen this year. I guess Northwestern, you put in backups at the end, and that kind of skews results. And they were pretty good up until that point, but not sure if you've really seen a full four-quarter performance this season. If Nebraska does do that, would that instantly catapult this win against Purdue to the number one, the best win of the Scott Frost era, if they're just able to go out there and put together a convincing win whenever you really need a win going into this final 4 weeks of the season?
I don't know if it's the best win of the era, but it certainly is one in which they answered the call at a time when they absolutely 100% needed it. I'm trying to think back, what great wins there have been, unfortunately, in the Scott Frost era.
That's what I'm saying.
We've seen great performances, that should have been wins and they weren't. The Michigan game certainly comes to mind in that regard, but I think if they come out and they are impressive and they look again like they did against Northwestern, then yeah, it's a great win, no doubt about it. But it's still against a Purdue team that still is not scaring people other than Iowans. I mean, they came back to reality last week against Wisconsin, so I think it's like, well, yeah, they had a great win, but they're still kind of just Purdue. And I've always thought the toughest thing about playing Purdue is when you have to play Purdue at Purdue, because there's zero atmosphere there. Only worse is Rutgers, and that makes it a tough place to play, as Nebraska's found out a couple of times. But they've got to play well, and play hard and play efficiently and stay out of their own way. That's the key. And I really think the week off is going to help this team. I'm not sure, and I probably should have done a little more homework than looking up stats and whatnot and watching film. I'm not sure if anybody has had a bye in their season later than Nebraska. As a team that started earlier than everybody and doesn't get a bye until last week, it's been a brutal schedule. And I think that they're probably going to benefit from having taken some time off.
Bill Doleman's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, the Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, Nebraska-Purdue breakdown, and some thoughts. So we've seen the legendary movie Major League, where they took Jobu's rum. They did not sacrifice the live chicken. There were hats for bats. Eventually, they got Pedro to hit the curveball. And in Dumb and Dumber, you had Seabass order, 3 Boilermakers. And we've heard Scott Frost talk about the same movie. And this weekend, when you're not watching college football, there's a lot of horror flicks on. I'm interested with you, Bill, as a guy who's a famous actor between mattress commercials and Jeep. Who's the starring character tomorrow for Nebraska? Does it have to be Adrian, or is it time for somebody other than Adrian to be the lean-on guy?
Well, that's a great question, and not only are people watching horror movies, but of course this is the Hallmark Channel countdown to Christmas. So you talk about seeing the same movie over and over and over again. But I digress.
You're going to get into Hallmark flicks someday soon. I know you are. They're going to see you on that mattress with the blonde gal, and they're going to say, Bill Doleman, get in front of the camera.
Well, the boy can dream, can't he? That'd be the shocker of all shockers, wouldn't it, if somebody turned on the Hallmark Channel? Yeah, that would be a career moment. Look, Adrian is said to be 100% healthy. And if that's true, I think that's relatively speaking. I doubt that we'll ever see Adrian Martinez 100% healthy. I think that's a relative term. But he's had a week off, and he's got a very important game ahead of him. And I don't want to say it's put up or shut up, but it's a put up game for him. And he's got the number one pass defense in the conference. He's got a pretty good defense overall that he's going to be facing tomorrow. He's got to make great decisions. He's got to utilize all his receivers, and whoever the running backs are tomorrow, they've got to be effective. It can't all be on Adrian, but if he's healthy, he's got to play like the kid we saw 2 or 3 years ago when he first arrived on campus and stole everybody's hearts. And there's been a lot of heartbreak in the 2 years since then. Tomorrow is the opportunity at home to get the crowd into it, get it behind him, and get a big win. Whether it's the biggest win or not, I don't know, but it will be a catastrophic loss if Nebraska can't pull it off tomorrow at home. I think the crowd's going to be into it. I don't think it's going to be like it was for Michigan, but I really think the crowd's going to be into it, just hoping, begging, pleading to do whatever they can do to help that team have a great performance. But I think it's on Adrian if he's healthy. If he really is healthy, it's on him to perform like it.
Well, let's hope it's not a horror movie tomorrow, or even worse, let's hope it's not a comedy. As you can make a lot of movie references here, Chris. You really could.
Well, listen, we're talking to a member of the acting community, Bill Doleman. I mean, seriously, like there's Bill Doleman commercials on TV. As you know, I'm waiting for the guy with the neck tattoo to tell you about why this mattress, the old Will Ferrell character, telling me why I need to get the one that elevates or not, and then Dumb and Dumber. It's always a Seabass reference, right? Cam Neely, I'll dig it over here. But yeah, we did talk a lot of movies, Elijah.
Yeah, what is your take on are you a fan of Boilermakers, the drink, not the mascot?
Me or Bill?
I guess both of you guys can answer.
I mean,
that
the mascot should be starring in his own horror movie because he looks crazed. I think me and Linville are going to do a Boilermaker here. We're going to do a shot of whiskey inside a beer. We're going to do that here. Well, hell, it's 5:20 almost.
It's 5 o'clock
5
somewhere.
o'clock somewhere, Chris.
We're going to do it on camera here. We're just going to drop it in and just hammer it. Boy, I haven't had one, and I'm ashamed as a Schmidt to say that. Bill?
I haven't had one either, and but you know my affinity for Guinness, and so that's probably about as far-reaching as I'm going to get.
Okay.
I'll let Elijah do the damage to himself and tell me about it later.
Oh, I can handle it. I'm young. You're right there.
Elijah can survive nuclear blasts, I'm told. So,
are you comparing me to
real quick, Bill?
Whoa! You just compared me to a cockroach, I think. Surviving nuclear blast?
I'm saying you're strong.
Thank you.
You're blast proof. That's a compliment. I'm not telling you you're a roach. Bill, what happens, real quick, we got to get your prediction here, but about 90 seconds. Where do you think LSU and USC are at? And what about Baylor and Penn State?
Well, I have watched with curiosity the James Franklin deal at Penn State, and I don't want to say that there's a moving van that's all packed up and ready to go, but I think there's a moving van that's all packed up and ready to go. Where is he going to end up? Probably USC, but he's done a lot of talking without saying anything, which tells me everything I need to know. So I would think that he's probably on his way out. It sounds like Mel Tucker has basically had his moving van running ever since he got the Boulder.
He's renting.
So I think that if he ends up at LSU, it would not surprise me. I assume that Dave Aranda must be on the target for any other opening that might be there, which would not surprise me if it's Penn State. If he might be on target for LSU. If he might be on target to go to Michigan State and go coach in the Big Ten. It'd be a great hire, but I would think that him leaving is an indication of what the future is for the Big 12, that it's just not a great conference to be in any longer. But that's what I kind of view it.
Bill, give me a score tomorrow, Nebraska-Purdue, bud.
100-0. What the hell? Drew Brees and Jim Everett aren't their quarterback anymore, so what the hell, No,
why not? Bill says 100 proof. Billy D, you take care. We'll talk next week.
Go Big Red.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back into it, Roadshow Friday, Hail Varsity Radio here at the Single Barrel. As we've got a plethora of steaks on the menu. You've got the Top Golf Simulator Suites, and you've got over 250 whiskeys to choose from. The guy got to be outside tonight as it gets to be, John Facenda NFL Films cold or fall-like. Greg Smith, recruiting guru with HailVarsity.com and magazine. Greg, you might need not on school property, clearly, but I'm sure you may be thinking of a whiskey to warm up at some point here as we get deeper into the playoffs. How are you?
I am well. That sounds excellent. It might be the move after this game. If it wasn't so windy, and I feel like that's kind of the thing that Nebraskans say, right? If it wasn't so windy, it wouldn't be so bad, but that's basically what it's like today.
Being a Chicago dude, do you look at this wind and just go, come on now?
No, because some of these days, I think it may have been yesterday or the day before, one of them, I feel like I went outside, my dog got blown down the street. I definitely don't turn my nose up at this Nebraska wind. It's no joke either.
Well, Greg, we'll get to some Husker football, some recruiting recon from you in a moment. You're going to see East and Gretna. Man, I've loved watching this East football team. Love Coach Gingery and his crew. And Malachi, Stevenson, of course, Erickson, phenomenal. But Walters he's been a treat, man. His whole career, he's been a stud to watch. And East has been prolific all season. I know they kind of ran into a buzzsaw last week up in the Metro. Doesn't get any easier for them in the opening round. Zane Flores, super talent. Gretna, an incredible squad as well. This has got to be, one of the top first-round matchups for you, as long as you've been covering this, man, because of the quarterbacks you're going to get to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really fired up for this one. And like you mentioned, because of those two quarterbacks, it basically means, you could have a score and have a big play at any time with both of those signal callers out there. I've seen them both at least once this year. Both of those offenses are really good and dynamic. It'll be interesting to see. I'm expecting a lot of scoring in this game tonight with all of the weapons on both offenses.
Greg, as you look at Noah and you look at Zane, where are their recruitments at? We'll get to some Malachi Coleman here in a moment too. But just a thought from you, is Nebraska at least in the picture for both of these kids, walk-on wise, or could it get even better here? You have in-state talent with arms like this. You want them to succeed, but it'd be really cool if they stuck around.
Yeah, I think that both of them are at least on the radar of Nebraska. It's a little late in the game for Noah Walters at this point, but his recruitment, neither of their recruitments have really taken off to the way that I would have predicted. If you had told me ahead of the season that, Noah would have a shot to break the Class A passing record this year, I would have said, okay, great. Which schools are also recruiting him? And it just hasn't happened. The same with Flores. But Nebraska is starting to pick up some interest as a potential preferred walk-on for Noah Walters, and we'll see what he thinks about that. Zane Flores has also been to Nebraska's campus. I think it was 2 home games ago, he was in Lincoln for a visit, and so they're well aware of him as well. I think both are talented players and definitely can play college football, whether it's at Nebraska or somewhere else.
Greg Smith is with us, Hail Varsity Radio, at Greg Smith HV. The Straight Up Breakdown, his podcast drops midweek on the Hurrdat Family Network, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Check out Greg and his thoughts on recruiting and football and some hoops as well. So let's talk Malachi Coleman, and he is prolific as a wideout, big play threat every time the ball's in his catch radius off the edge. He's been a beast. I know Wisconsin's liked him. I know Iowa's liked him. I know Nebraska's been in as well. And, what's your forecast, Bud, here with Malachi? And I probably left out some other offers. You've kind of got that rundown memorized, I'm sure, with who's all in on Malachi. But do you project him as a guy they beef up and send screaming off the edge, or do you think he's a wide receiver at the next level?
It probably depends. It probably all depends on whether or not his frame is going to be able to handle that additional weight. He's already a super athlete, and so that it's a tough spot. I guess I say that tongue in cheek for him to be in, because either you beef up a lot and you end up being an edge rusher, or you beef up some and you end up being a big wide receiver, which he definitely can do. Right, so he's in a good position when it comes to his recruitment. You're right. Some of the schools in the region that really like him, he's been to a visit to Wisconsin already. I think he's checked out Iowa as well. Kansas State has been in touch as well. So those kind of regional schools, and a lot of names that either Nebraska plays or has or used to play in on Malachi Coleman. He's a talented player.
Greg Smith's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Greg, I just want to hit on the fact that it seems like Nebraska has a couple guys they're looking at to go into that JoJo Doleman role. When you look at Gage Stinger, you look at Applegate from Southeast, and even look at maybe Malachi Coleman being able to fit that role where JoJo Doleman screams off the edge and can also drop back into coverage. Is that a position where Nebraska's trying to load up, or are they just bringing in athletes that they go, okay, maybe this guy could fit that role as well?
Yeah, so here's what I really, really like about this, and I've written this a couple of times. I think that anytime you can have kind of a unique position in your defense, that maybe you can find a guy that's a little bit of a tweener and get him out there on the field and just use his athleticism, I think that's awesome. I think it's a really good selling point for Nebraska to be able to go on the recruiting trail with some of these kids. And it was Isaac Gifford before that. He's kind of a guy that's been groomed for that role. Javen Wright is another guy, potentially depending on what happens with his body and his health down the road. And so I definitely think it's on purpose. Nebraska's doing it on purpose, and they really like Gage Stinger in this current class for this role moving forward in the future as well.
Greg, are you panicked with where Nebraska's at in this 2022 cycle? They've got some kids. It's a limited class. There's also JUCO offers out. There's also portal possibility. Do you think it'll all work out here in about 6 weeks, or is Nebraska kind of in the twilight zone a little bit here with what they're trying to do for 2022?
I think it's going to depend so much on what Nebraska can pull out of their hats when it comes to the portal and junior college. Like I think at this point, it kind of is what it is with the 2022 high school class, and there's some talented guys that I like their upside to the future that are already in this class, and they'll probably add a few more to the class. Even though, as I say that, whoever gets added to the high school group at this point has not visited already, so it's going to kind of be, or at least for an official visit, because there haven't been any really official visits that have happened besides Victor Jones Jr., right? Akana, the Boise State commit. So we'll see a kind of fast and furious finish potentially on that front, but I think the junior college recruiting in the portal, which is the hardest part to forecast, is going to be what kind of saves this class, or I guess makes or breaks it, but we're not going to know that for a little bit here, and the portal thing is going to be ongoing through the summer probably.
What's that tell you? Is it just best business right now to go portal and JUCO, or is it more of a declaration we better figure out a way to win now if you're this staff and get some guys that don't need to be as developed because they've already played either major ball at the JUCO level or they're transferring from a Power 5?
Yeah, I think it's the second. I think it's that they need to find guys that can help them win now. You're looking at a year next year, 2022, where, listen, we kind of dance around the Scott Frost hot seat talk, but he would definitely enter 2022 on a very hot seat, and I guess that kind of temperature changes depending on what happens down the stretch of this season. But that's a tough situation. You don't want to go in with so many young guys, plus Nebraska has so many young players that they need to also balance the roster and balance the classes out and be able to get some older guys in here, whether or not, it's juniors or even one-year seniors. They need to do a good job of balancing that out, too.
Well, and you'll have some attrition. There's some guys that no doubt have played well enough beyond the super seniors, Greg, that could find their way to the NFL. That's the tight end spots for Nebraska. That's Mr. Daniels on the interior. Of course, Cam Taylor-Britt on some lists, high lists for the NFL draft already. So you're going to need to reload one way or the other. So you got the LSU opening. You have the USC opening, potential portal there. Who knows if Franklin ends up at either school. Do you have an exodus from Penn State? If Aranda's name finds his way to LSU, is there an exodus at Baylor? If he's gone, is there an exodus, at LSU? The reason I'm asking all these things, Bill Busch knows everybody. Bill Busch is on staff as an analyst. Bill Busch delivered Joe Burrow way back in the day, and he's been an incredible recruiter everywhere he's been. This has got to be a monster opportunity, don't you think, for Nebraska to use a guy like Coach Busch or analyst Bill Busch to really hammer home some portal possibilities?
Yeah, and it's funny, the way you laid that out, though, kind of underscores why it's so hard to forecast that, right? And yes, they're going to have to use Coach Busch, and it'll be all hands on deck, Coach Held, Coach Becton, and the connections that he has, especially all over the South. But if you think about just what happens when a couple jobs get filled, there's going to be a lot of kids potentially that could be looking around, and it's not just to go to the school that coach ends up going to. You just never know how that goes. So in today's world, I think that's going to be something that's a really big deal as when the coaching carousel gets fired back up again and these jobs start to get filled and new ones open up. That's what I think Nebraska is really counting on to be able to, fill some of these spots moving forward.
Greg, real quick, some visitors you're intrigued by tomorrow with Nebraska-Purdue, and then to close out, what happens tomorrow with Nebraska-Purdue?
Yeah, I think there's a handful of guys, and it's weird to start with a couple of kickers, but I think that the number one kicker that I'm looking at, Charlie Weinrich, who's coming in out of Kansas, I believe. He's a 2022 kid, so he'd be in this class. He holds a scholarship offer from Kansas and a handful of walk-on offers from around the country as well. And then you have a number of 2023 kids, kind of led by quarterback J.J. Cole, who might be the best quarterback in the state of Iowa for 23. If that last name Cole sounds familiar, his dad is the old kicking guru, who's also on staff for the Chicago Bears. And no, I didn't just say that to work in a plug for the Bears.
You and your Bears.
But that helps too. Then you got a wide receiver, Joshua Manning, coming in from kind of the Kansas City area. There's some really intriguing 2023 guys that are coming in. And as far as tomorrow's game goes, it's one of those things where you kind of see anything happening. Purdue is a little upset after kind of laying an egg last week, but I think Nebraska is refocused and re-energized. And I think that if they're going to make this interesting down the stretch, they've got to get this one tomorrow. I think Nebraska finds a way to get it done in a close game.
There's Greg Smith, recruiting insider at Greg Smith HV on Twitter. Greg, enjoy tonight, East and Gretna. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, sounds good, man. See you tomorrow.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back here at the Single Barrel, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, and our old pal Linville. Elijah, I know we're waiting on Cloudsburn for the Friday forecast. We have taken the plunge, and if you can look and stream us, ESPN Lincoln's Facebook page, there is a shot of Buffalo Trace inside our beer here. So we have done, and we have not chugged it because I don't have enough hair on my chest to do that. But we've had a Boilermaker, my friend.
Rate the flavor. You picked a good whiskey with the Buffalo Trace.
I know.
That's
I probably
a good selection.
picked too good a whiskey, to be quite frank, to do a Boilermaker, but they're absolutely now cursed.
The Boilermakers
put the mortgage, put Junior's college fund. This is how we guarantee a win.
See, right? I look at the beer and whiskey combo, and really, what is beer but like a liquid bread with a little bit of alcohol in there? What is beer but that?
People take a shot of whiskey before they have a beer.
Exactly.
My old buddy Nader is prone to the Jack Daniel's honey, and you can find that and 249 other whiskeys. Our old buddy Roger had himself a scotch earlier. Our old buddy Ken did a New York strip. Our two friends across the table from us here, and they've been coming to Hail Varsity road shows and ESPN events since, well, Maryland had a good Final Four basketball team in 2002. This is really cool. We're down here at the Single Barrel Home Football Fridays. Just a programming note, we're here for the weekend edition tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow 11:30 to 1:30 pregame, and then Real Red Reaction going to be with us following Nebraska-Purdue. That's JP from 96 Kicks, Meg from 96 Kicks, and Elijah, you'll be on that as well. And we'll be set up here for post-game here inside the Graduate at the Single Barrel. So come on by, celebrate a Nebraska win. So we are facing a tough reality. This happens once every fall. And if you've watched We're the Millers, you know some folks are prone to the border. Clausburn has been swallowing balloons again, and there may be some detainment. But never fear, Elijah and I will get you through the Friday forecast with a Nebraska prediction. Let's take it away and get to it. So a slew of incredible ball games this weekend. Last weekend was incredible. When you're punched in the face by quarantine, all you do is watch football. You start rooting for Lance. You start liking Kansas football. And then OU goes for 35 in the second half. A lot of great ball games. San Diego State and the fat guy in a little coat, Brady Hoke. They take on Fresno State. That's going to be the dessert for you Saturday night. But before that, you have Michigan State. Game day is in Sparty. Michigan State's, all their wins have come against sub-500 teams, Elijah. You know what? Claus does say, yes, I got roped into a work call. That's balloon swallowing, Claus. We love you. Air quote. We'll figure out Claus next week for the Ohio State. Back to Michigan. I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks. And do you like Michigan State's quarterback? You've seen him as a Nebraska fan. Do you like Michigan's quarterback in McNamara? I think both teams can hammer each other's run. I like Michigan. Everyone's gone Michigan State. It's a home game. It's a Harbaugh factor. Listen, I think Michigan's too good defensively. I think Michigan's got a better 1-2 punch. And Walker's awesome. I mean, Walker's a Heisman candidate with Sparty. But I just think McNamara showed me enough against Nebraska. Kid made some throws. And you got Aiden Hutchinson. Give me Michigan on the road to stay unbeaten. And I will give Michigan State the 4 at home. Michigan 35-28, the win over Sparty.
Yeah, and I'm with you here when we talk about Kenneth Walker. He hasn't faced all that many really very, very stout run defenses. And I think Michigan has a run defense that's on par with Nebraska's, and we saw what Nebraska was able to do against Kenneth Walker, really shutting him down, especially in the second half. So I think Michigan also pulls this one out, and I think they also cover the 4-point spread. I got Michigan winning by a final score of 28-17 over the Spartans. Michigan State really can't get the offense going without Kenneth Walker going, so I'll take Michigan.
I just think Sparty's too one-dimensional in comparison to Michigan, and you're right on with it. We will skip around. I was really hoping for pig and curd jokes with Iowa and whiskey from Clausburn. We're not going to get it. Everyone's all over Wisconsin here. They're favored by 3.5. I think Iowa, dare I say it, they're going to fade. They're going to fade down the stretch. They still have Minnesota looming. Northwestern's always played Iowa tough. Oh, no, here's your rivalry game. I think Wisconsin's got some mo. They physically beat the hell out of the Fighting Seabasses last week. Check that. Wisconsin did. And I'm going to go with Wisconsin. I'm going to go with Wisconsin at home. And the unders are disgusting. It's 33.5 points. Give me a vintage Big Ten win and cover 10-6. Wisconsin wins, barely covers.
I don't like how much I am agreeing with you here. I am gonna agree with you on the Wisconsin win.
Steak and a beer if you want here.
However, I don't think Wisconsin covers. That's where I'll change it up for you. It's going to be a slogfest. We know Vegas is really good with their totals usually. It's going to be a low-scoring affair with these defenses and also with the shaky play of both of these quarterbacks. I'm going to agree with you. Wisconsin gets the win. I do not think they get a cover, though, as Wisconsin gets the home win 17-14. I'm not sold on this Iowa team, especially with how many injuries they have on their defense. I think that's going to give Wisconsin just enough. They need a win this season against a top-level team. They've put in some good performances, not great performances. I do think they get a great performance tomorrow, and I think they win 17-14, a win, but no cover for the Badgers.
It's going to come down to probably Wisconsin and Minnesota on Black Friday or Saturday for the West. Let's get to Ole Miss and Auburn. We'll save Nebraska-Purdue for 5:50. You're a big Ole Miss guy. I think Ole Miss stubs there too. Auburn's got a really talented defense. They fly around. It has just been a gauntlet. It's been a gauntlet for Arkansas. It's been a gauntlet for Ole Miss. It's been a gauntlet for Alabama, for A&M. You just look at the games stacked. It's a lot like the Big Ten where you're going frying pan into the fire. And I think Auburn is poised. They're good. They're ranked again. And I think Auburn upsets the Visor in kind of a shootout here. Give me Auburn 45 and Ole Miss 38.
See, I like the Heisman candidate, Matt Corral from Ole Miss, too much. I do think this is a close game. Auburn has been pretty battle-tested this year, but give me Ole Miss on the back of Matt Corral to win this one by a final score of 35-31. Ole Miss gets a win over Auburn.
Yeah, that's a good take with that quarterback. He's incredible. Nebraska and Purdue, our prediction here, the forecast. We're here at the Single Barrel with Hail Varsity.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here at the Single Barrel on a home football Friday, 4 to 6 here every Roadshow Friday for Nebraska when they're here in Lincoln. We're back tomorrow for the weekend edition, 11:30 to 1:30, right ahead of Nebraska-Purdue. Real Red Reaction with JP, who got the old thumbs up from Coach Frost for his Titans hat. We heard the epic story about smoking in the Astrodome and Earl Campbell killing people from Coach Frost on Thursday. But Real Red Reaction, as soon as the game's done, it's JP, it's Elijah, it's Meg, and you're going to want to react with your friends from Nebraska Orthopedic and Sports Medicine. Big thanks every time we do a road show. It is a tip of the cap to our friends at Arrow Brokerage and Ferris Financial Group. They have been just awesome. Awesome. They are awesome when it comes to investment, real estate for Arrow Brokerage, and, of course, when it comes to retirement savings and investing your money wisely and protecting your money. The folks at Ferris Financial do just an incredible job each quarter for you. You know, that's what it's all about. Without further ado, Elijah, let's get into Nebraska and Purdue for the Friday forecast. Clausburn, we will get him bail money for next week for Nebraska, Ohio State. We'll be back here at the Graduate next Friday. Come see us for Nebraska and the Fighting Herbies. And, of course, pregame and post always here at Single Barrel. So, Elijah, 7.5. You go first. We're going to add a little sweetener to this. It is for a steak and a beer. We have neglected the steak and the beer a lot of this football season, my friend. I'm up a lot. Beating chest, sorry. Piling on. Oh, we lost Schmidt, sorry. No, tell me. What happens, Nebraska, Purdue, 7.5. Where's your head?
Well, my head is that you have been talking all show about how it's time for Nebraska to close win. That'll be big. So I'm gonna make you stick to that one. by saying Nebraska is going to cover this 7.5-point spread just barely. I think it's the type of game where Nebraska jumps out to a lead, all on that Penn State game last year, and then things start going wrong. Purdue starts clawing their way back in. You know Nebraska is going to make some mistakes, shoot themselves in the foot. It's going to let Purdue get back into this game. So I have this game being somewhere in the 35-21, 35-24 range going into the fourth quarter. Purdue claws back, but Nebraska holds on for an 8-point victory, 35-27. They get the win, and they barely get the cover against Purdue tomorrow afternoon.
Back to the red zone. You hold them to one field goal versus a touchdown, Elijah. I get it. I'll say this. I know Purdue's got a pass rush. I know they've got a good secondary. I think Nebraska's offense can go off. Michigan's got a good defense. Nebraska still put up 29 points. We don't need to get into all the points left on the field. It is a one-score game. It is an Adrian, John Elway moment. We can write that fairy tale. And it is Nebraska 31-27. 31-27, first team to 30. That's how it's going to roll for Nebraska, and Adrian makes it happen, gets some help in the run game, and Nebraska is going to get some points off of turnovers, and I think Farmer has a big game tomorrow. Pre-game here, Single Barrel, 11:30 to 1:30, the weekend edition. Come see us, get a steak and a beer. Big thanks to our friends that came out to see us. Big thanks to you for listening, and thanks to the Single Barrel and our friends at The Graduate. All right, back tomorrow. Flex schedule, 11:30, Hail Varsity. Talk to you Saturday.